like $2.8 million. I think
The math I did was like $1 million, but also keep in mind the U.S. dollar is kind of.
yeah, it's still in its own highs and lows.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Pointless Discourse with myself, Hoppocalypse, and Itisdpayne.
Hello, it is me. I have money and a house on a hill.
Do you also like looking down at the poor people?
Exactly, in my robe.
He didn't fully close it either.
I know. That's why the real reason people thought they were so mad.
Yes, if you guys haven't already read the title of this, we are on our final week of watching Kurosawa films. This week's was High and Low. So, Deepay mentioning being up high on a hill. It's clearly the title of the movie. And the poor people are down low.
That's right. Get wrecked, nerds. I am the wolf of Japan.
I was trying to think if they named streets. They named different train lines and they named districts, but I don't think they named any particular, like, street names.
Yeah, not that I could remember, but I also wasn't really paying attention to the names of streets.
There's a lot of names thrown around of, like, locations.
Yes. I was more like, when's the boy gonna show up? Well, there he is. There he is. He had like 10 lines.
Oh, your boy. Yeah. Strider likes the Mr. Gondo's actor. So
Oh yeah, I liked him too.
Yeah, he looked at the screen. I was like, it's your boy.
Yeah, I knew he was in it.
He is on the poster.
He is on the poster. And just yeah, like I knew he was gonna be in there. Like as soon as he walked in, like there he is. But where's the other? Where's
the other boy? I saw him on the IMDb.
Oh wait, no, Mifune is the main actor. I don't know. I'm getting all the names. Is it Nakadai?
Yeah. Tatsuya Nakadai.
Yeah.
Oh wait.
No.
Nope. That's the other lead detective. Takashi Shimura.
Yes.
Chief of Investigation.
There he is. I like how his pictures from Akira on IMDb.
It's a good, like, front-facing shot of him. Oh, one of the...
He's in Godzilla? Sorry, go ahead.
One of the guys from Seven Samurai was in this. I didn't see him. It says he's the first reporter. Minoru Chiaki. I can't... Is he the businessman samurai in Seven Samurai? The one that's old friends with the lead one?
Maybe. Let's find out.
His picture with glasses on doesn't really help me.
Yeah, there's like a lot of pictures that like are a little bit tough.
Oh, he's the priest in Rashomon too.
Oh, okay. Let's see. Heihachi. And Heihachi, if I click it, yes, that's him, the merchant.
Look at me, I have a memory. And then we recognize the constable from Yojimbo is in this as well. Did you catch that? The constable's the really high pitched one that's like, hee hee, go get him, boys.
Okay.
It's 2 a.m. Woohoo! He was the enthusiastic guy who memorized the sounds of all the train lines.
Oh, okay.
At first I thought it was the coffin maker, but the more he talked, we were like, no, that's the constable.
Yes. Now I'm like, oh, yep, that does match. It's interesting because like when I think of like because they definitely feel like a bunch of friends that have come together to like under Kurosawa to make films, and I don't know, it could be just like at that point there was just like not as big of a pool of actors as there was like in now as we see a lot of movies, but I don't know, I'm like, part of me just likes to imagine it's almost like the only other like correlation I could do like to today off the top of my head is Sandler with like all his buddies making movies. Not the same, in my opinion.
A very different quality, yeah.
Quality and production and focus, but it's like a bunch of friends in there. But I was thinking about this since we're on our last film with Kurosawa, and I was wondering because a couple of these actors we've seen literally in multiple movies like these past 5 weeks, and a lot of them have very different roles. And I was sitting there wondering, I'm like, is this just a different quality of actor of the time, or is Kurosawa just able to really help drive home what these how these actors should be acting in their characters? And I'm like, it probably could be both, but
I imagine a mix of both, because I feel like I also thought about this, especially with the way that a lot of modern casting seems to feel like it's like if someone's good at a role, you only ever see them in that role.
Yes.
And I think I lean towards the idea that directors are, maybe not directors, maybe it's like the higher up production company, but they're too scared to let actors take chances. So then you end up going, oh, this actor can only do one thing, but realistically it's like nowadays in Hollywood you have an agent, you have a manager, you have contracts, you have all these people that pour how much, like, movie production costs nowadays are ridiculous. So rather than them going, yeah, make a movie, have fun, they're like, it has to be box office worthy, which is kind of like, meh.
Yeah. And like streaming also has killed a lot of it as well to make some certain movies as well, because they just can't make the
Box
money
office,
back on it. Yeah. Or just like direct to DVD, where it's like, okay, we'll make the money back on there. And now it's like streaming's like, because I think I watched like a clip of Freddie Wong. I think that's his name. He was talking about him and his buddies making movies. And it's like, we wanted to make movies, and back when we first started, it was like the DVD era, where it's like you can go make direct DVD, you make all the sales, and you can break even or all that stuff. But now you'll make a $40,000 movie, and streaming service will be like, we'll give you $4,000 for it, and you won't even like get any of that money back. So it's just like, it's like the way they make movies is different now, where it's like, hey, let's do all these other small projects that generate money, so that way we can make a movie, like a good movie, once every 3 years, rather than like constantly putting out other stuff. But there's that. I feel like I think I've seen this more with the superhero, mainly Marvel movies, just to like for the time that they came out, or like when they came out and everything, they were good. Like they're not my cup of tea now, but I feel like looking at them, like remembering the time they're in there, I remember I was like, oh my goodness, superhero movies that are like good.
Yeah, like they definitely prove, like it was that weird thing where it felt like they had to work really hard to prove you could have a live action based on a fictional character that was like a good movie. And then kind of like what we hinted at, the people that have all the money and the stakes in the game are like, if that works, we'll just keep putting them out. We'll just keep putting out the same movie because the first one made so much money. And it's like, no more trilogies, please. No more origin stories, please.
Or if you're going to do an origin story, please do it off a comic book hero that nobody knows. But thinking about it now, it's like Robert Downey Jr., I don't think will ever be remembered for anything besides Iron Man, Tony Stark.
Didn't they force him out of retirement to play somebody else? Yeah.
Because, the Doctor Doom. Which, going into my comic knowledge, which is failing, I believe in one of the alternate universes, Tony Stark is Doctor Doom. So it's
they found a loophole.
Yeah, it's the joys of alternate timelines. But with all of that, it's like there's that Chris Evans, I think will only for a while now will only be remembered as Captain America. And like Scarlett Johansson, like as we were talking about last month with Jojo Rabbit, her like being outside of the umbrella of Marvel and Black Widow was just like, oh, okay,
she's an actress.
Yeah, she has depth, and it's like I'm wondering, and not wondering because it's like looking at these movies from the 60s, because even with Itisdpayne, I feel like we saw a little bit of it, even though we didn't have like the same amount of actors, but there was like, it felt like there was movies around that time were kind of like how Shakespeare, like how he had his acting troupe, and like kind of how I guess improv troops and theater troops nowadays, how they go around and it's like these group of actors,
their stars that they know can deliver.
Yes. Yeah. And it feels like that's how movie crews were done, where it's like, hey, it's a group of people that work together, they know what they're good at, and if they're successful, they keep bringing in more people and expanding, but it's like they're not constantly playing the same role. Because it's like, Toshiro Mifune, we saw him in 4 different roles. 2 of them we could say were close.
Yeah, like Seven Samurai and Rashomon could be like interchangeable in some ways.
I'm blanking on what the first one that we watched was.
Rashomon's the first movie.
Rashomon was the first one. Yes, Rashomon. Even a little bit like Yojimbo, like if I could see if his character in Seven Samurai like lived and grew up, like
spoilers.
I don't care.
It's only like 50 years old.
Yes. But it's like, I don't know. I feel like Yojimbo could also be like an alternate history. But it's like all those roles are very different. Even this one is completely different compared.
Yeah.
I think the best one is Takashi Shimamura between Seven Samurai and Akira. It's like we get to see the depth of these characters, and I'm wondering if I'm not gonna say I'm wondering. I feel like we are losing the depth of what actors can do because producers and shareholders,
they make for-profit movies rather than art pieces.
And I feel like that's why, at least for us, and feel free to correct me if you're like, no, that's wrong, why we like A24 so much, because it feels like that they're like, hey, we like your idea, we're gonna help you, like, pitch it to us. If we think it's good, let's rock and roll. Rather than be like, I don't know how much money, like, I don't know. Well, I was about to say, like, A Ghost Story probably was really good on paper, but for us, we're probably not the targeted audience for it.
And I will say, I'm curious to see where A24 ends up heading. Not to be like a total hater, but I did watch one of their more recent horror films in theaters. And I was like, I don't know if they were just like, oh, sounds like Midsommar, but different, and then released it. Because it was like, it'll be interesting to see if they end up falling in that line. Because I'm starting to worry that their horror is getting a little like, they're boxing
samey.
in. Yeah. They go, oh, which was popular? Midsommar, Hereditary. Those all worked. Let's make more. And I'm like, shh, they do well, because expand. Talk to Me was at least different, but Talk to Me does have, in some way, similarities to, like, some of the other ones. It's just, I think Talk to Me does the best with talking directly about grief and horror as far as the other A24 things go.
Yeah. Yeah. So but it's like for their, like, because I think there was some where we had some pretty big actors in some of these other roles, and it's just, it was different.
The only modern director I could think that kind of did that, I felt like Christopher Nolan for a little bit was doing that, because he used DiCaprio in all different sorts of ways, like in between Inception and things like that. Tarantino seems to have his favorites as well. He doesn't seem to be as consistent with like using the same exact actors, but Tarantino has his other problems of the kinds of characters he writes. So, but he
Yep.
does push people, like he pushes people. That's for
Mm-hmm.
sure. But yeah, I agree. Like unless you happen to be a big enough name as a director, it is hard to make a movie where you're able to do things like Kurosawa did, where he had people and people trusted him to make risks. There's not a lot
Yeah.
of directors in name that people will like just let do it. Like even some directors that are big names, they hire like they'll get hired to make, like you said, like Marvel movies, and then they go, actually, I don't think that'll make enough money. Can you change it again? And they're just like, but it's my name. You hired me because you thought I was talented, and yet.
Yeah. There was something where back when Marvel was at the height of whatever it was doing and DC was struggling, and I did hear a suggestion, which I think is still a very interesting idea to do, and I would be interested to see if it happens. I don't think it will in the way things are set up, but they said what they should do is make pretty much choose your like main DC superheroes and then go to directors like or writers and be like, we want you to do Superman in your style. You have complete creative freedom. Here's maybe like 2 or 3 like
They
story beats.
theoretically did that
Yeah.
with Gunn and Snyder.
Yeah.
And they both.
I will say this this Superman movie that James
new-
Gunn it looks interesting.
Is he on the newest one?
Yeah, he's doing.
Okay. Was he the one that flopped Batman, or was that Snyder? No, Snyder flopped Justice League
Yes.
because he has the whole Snyder cut that's like 9 hours long, right?
I don't know. I didn't watch it.
Or Batman vs Superman, one of those.
Yeah, no, Batman vs Superman, and then Snyder. He got kicked off of Justice League or something like that when it was like pretty much almost done, if I remember correctly, and that's when they brought in Joss Whedon. And they have 2 very different directorial
Yeah.
ideas. But anyway, they're not directors we're talking about.
Nope, neither of them have made the cut for this year's directors we're watching.
Yes. I do find it interesting that a lot of the directors that we have chosen, at least in this first half of the year, I think are definitely older. I know, like Spike Lee is a little bit newer. We did switch next month's.
Yeah, and Taika is
newer,
still actively directing.
Yes.
But, yeah, it is like we started off the list going, okay, we have to put Kubrick or everyone's going to yell at us if we don't put Kubrick. And then we were like, all right, we want to be mindful of the different months we're in. So, of course, like Spike Lee for February, Ida Lupino for March. And then we kind of just said, like, have at the... Because I think if it wasn't our birthday months, we probably should have put Kurosawa for May for... AAPHI, if I remember all the letters correctly. But birthday month. And Taika, no, he's native to New Zealand. I forget his particular tribe's name. Is he Maori?
Maori. It sounds right. I can look it up.
But in any case, we did also try and be diverse with it too. So I'm at least happy we did do that. Because I'm sure a lot of I remember looking through a lot of other lists and they're like, all the directors you have to watch. I was like, white man, white man, white man.
Let's see. Wellington. Robert. I don't even know how to pronounce that. I don't even know how to pronounce that. It is a Maori Iwi tribe.
Okay. Yeah. And then and your birthday month again. So we sandwiched AAPHI History Month with Wilson Yip and Akira Kurosawa.
Yep.
That's funny.
So that we got that in there. I don't know what April, if there's anything special about that except like Weed Day.
I was
There's
reading a
probably
particular
something.
sets of books. I forget. But it's okay. Oh, we didn't pick a queer director for June. It's okay. We got to watch Kurosawa. We'll learn for next time we watch 12 directors.
Yep. But I don't know. There's a couple of months. Like, I am looking forward to a lot of the months that are coming up, but there's one month in particular that I'm like, which I'm pretty sure you already know.
I'm leaving that one to
I know
be
you're
played
leaving
by
that to
you.
me. Yep, I know, and I'm looking forward to it, but I have to wait a couple months.
In any case, are you ready to roll some dice? We yapped quite a
Yeah.
bit.
Yes, I am. If I can find the right thing. Where is
If
it? There. Ha!
if this is your first time joining us, welcome in. Sorry for yapping so long in the beginning, but now we are rolling dice. Like we've mentioned a few times, this year we've been watching a different director for each month of the year. So we were rolling a d12 because, one, we like tabletop RPG games. Payne hosts several on his personal YouTube channel and has his own podcast for Call of Cthulhu. Is that still going? No, you wrapped it up by now.
Yes, and it's not it's a podcast on YouTube. It's on my YouTube channel now, this season 2, but just due to recording scheduling, it comes out every other week. So.
But yeah, so, 12-sided dice, and whoever rolls higher gets to give a short summary of the movie we watched. Again, it was high and low for this week. And
we're going to find out who has the high and low roll of this one. Woo!
Whoa! And then we'll chat about some questions regarding the movie. That will be spoiler free. Then we'll go into spoiler town. While I roll my dice, D-Payne, do you want to let the people know what's on for next month in case they need to leave for spoiler town?
Correct. Yes. So next month we are jumping into the work of Wes Anderson. We were going to be having a bunch. We have, I feel like, a pretty good selection. I don't know if they're in release order, but yeah, it will be fun. I think looking at this, I only watched one of his movies.
I've watched one of the ones we have listed on there. I think I've watched 2 of his movies because I knew somebody else that was interested in watching Wes Anderson.
Mm-hmm. So this should be fun, and especially since I feel like last year social media is like, oh, do this in a Wes Anderson vibe, Jam Johnsky.
I still see people doing
they
their
still do,
bridal, or not bridal, like wedding videos in Wes Anderson's like format.
Did you see one like last week or 2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
Okay, I think we saw the same one. Or I was just like, are they listening to my thing? Like, I know my phone's listening to me because I had to download Venmo for the first time ever, and I got it set up for something, and then I've been constantly getting Venmo ads. I'm like,
good.
Where'd you come from?
But I did roll my dice.
What'd you roll?
I rolled a 9.
You rolled one more than me because I rolled an 8 again.
Right. You were catching up to make it even. Now I'm 2 ahead of you in how many times we've spoken.
I'm going to make a prediction. We'll see.
You're putting it now?
Yeah.
That would be interesting. Okay. So, quick summary of High and Low. Basically, we follow the pursuits of a police force as they set themselves out to solve the kidnapping / blackmailing / extortion being done to an executive of a shoe company.
Yes.
1 sentence, baby. I did it.
All right. So, I have a question for you. Maybe more. If this was the only movie you watched of Akira Kurosawa, would you watch the rest of their catalog? Be honest now.
I would say I'd be willing to give it one more movie. Like, okay, this is what I would say. I liked a lot of the concepts in this. Did I drift off a few times because I haven't been sleeping well and there was a lot of, like, yapping? Also, yes. But, I mean...
How don't you know how I watched this movie?
But, I mean, I also did have moments where I fell asleep during Ikiru, so I'm not going to blame the movie, per se. It's more like my timing. But it... Like, some parts of it were so engaging and so well shot that it's like, I could tell it's a good director, but I think the story is not one that I really it's not really one for me. How about you?
It sounds like we had similar viewing styles, because there was moments where I was like a little bit sleepy because it's if we watch movies from the 70s and even early 80s, I feel like we would get similar I guess filming things where it takes its time. It's not trying to fit in a 2-hour block or an hour and a half block. It's like, hey, when the movie's done, it's done. So it does take its time, which I don't have a problem with. But
If I had taken a nap before watching the movie, I probably wouldn't have fallen asleep. But it was the scenes where like the cops were like, "Okay, but what else?" I'm like, if I was like awake as a human being, this would be fascinating. But I have to rewind it a few times because like, no,
yeah.
it makes sense for the scene, but it's all at the same volume.
But no, I would be hesitant to watch another one. Not that I wouldn't, but I think I would have to. Someone would have to like pretty much sell it to me.
You need to be convinced.
Yeah, because I'm just like it just, as you were saying, it's not that it's a bad movie. I just don't know. Even if I was like fully awake and not like in a slight food coma after Father's Day, to be like, let me watch a movie. Yeah, I think I don't know if this was my favorite story that he did, but it's still good. But it's just not my favorite. But another question for you: how much did you root for the characters?
I didn't know who I was supposed to root for.
Batman.
I guess if I had to root for anybody, it was maybe his wife. But
you don't know anything about business. She was gonna murder him. Anyways.
Yeah, like it is like the classic Kurosawa of a bunch of characters that are not likable but are at least complex. So you're like, I don't really like who you are, but I'm curious about you, which I think made it watchable for me. Because especially like in the second half where they start the full pursuit, I was like, I don't trust anybody on my screen right now. You're all cops and you're all criminals and you're all like in this bar having it's got to be an American naval base during one of the world wars. I was like, that's whiskey written in English. But yeah, like I guess no, I didn't really root for anybody. I was hoping that he would have lost his money even if they caught him.
That's
slight spoiler.
That's what I thought was going to happen. But we mentioned it a little bit earlier. I don't know if I'm the same. I don't think I really rooted for anybody. I think I did root for a little bit where's him? The chief detective, Nakura.
The one that had the most screen time? Or
I think so. Oop, I clicked too far. Make sure it's
Sakura.
Yeah, the younger detective guy in the suit.
The only one in the suit. Okay.
Yeah, I think that's just double checking. Yeah. So I thought I liked him. I liked his character because because I have been reading a lot of, I guess, more murder mystery kind of things, especially, well, one's older than when this movie came out, and I think I do like the put together, like, not that he knows it all, but he's intelligent and able to get the team going, and it's just like,
sorry, I think he's in Yojimbo.
Huh.
I think he's the smart brother.
He was typecast.
I was scrolling through IMDb to make sure you were talking about like the same character, and I see this poster, and I was like, "That's him."
Yep.
He really loves his gun.
Mm-hmm. Gunman.
Sorry to distract.
It's all good. But yeah, I liked him pretty much putting everything together and working together with, like, I liked the process of it. So I guess I was rooting for him, but there really wasn't anybody that I was like 100% just like, this is good, I hope you win. Like, where as Yojimbo, like the whole time I was hoping that the main dude there was gonna be like, it's like, I don't know how he's getting out of this. So what grade would you give the plot?
I do think it's like, we'll talk about this more in Spoiler Town. Like, I think it's really well constructed from like beginning to end, minus a few notes on the ending. So I think even though it's not necessarily a movie for me, like it's not in my wheelhouse of wanting to watch cops solve things.
Yeah.
I would still give it like a B plus because there's not a lot of gaps left. All things considered, with how expansive the story realistically is, because we're following the plight of the rich man, we're following the plight of the poor man, and then all in between the, like you said, I think the technical term I saw on IMDb is police procedural.
Yep. I was about to call it that. So
since you're watching their procedure from they arrive on the scene, they give advice, they listen on the calls, and then they develop and I forget the phrase. Is it MO, like the modus operandi, operati, and then also from there build
Octopus.
out. Oh, they build out like the whole. What does he have access to? What are the means? What are the motivations? And that's all really fascinating, especially given I think it's set in the 60s because people have cars in Japan. So I'm assuming like around the 60s. And they don't have a lot of surveillance, but they do have testimony. They have transportation. They have radios. So it's kind of neat to watch it all like come together.
Yeah.
So yeah, like a B plus.
Mm-hmm.
How about you?
I would give it same thing, around a B. Because you did take the phrase I was going to use, the police procedural, out of my mouth, because like when I think of a procedural, I think of pretty much everything that's shown on primetime TV now, which it's like,
oh, like the NCIS,
like pretty much every
Criminal Minds.
Every show that like the internet's sometimes like, you should watch it, it's a good show, and I'm like, I'm good. It's literally the same thing. And it's like, I don't know how many times we can be like, there's a murder and we gotta go solve it. Like,
they're the Special Victims Unit, Itisdpayne.
Yeah.
Dun, dun.
Cool. Yes. Like 24 is just 24 episodes of the same procedural.
Something Jack Bauer.
Yeah. But in watching all of that, it was, I think what I thought was interesting was definitely seeing it like pretty much today when they've been like, I need you, hacker goth girl, to go look up the FBI print database to find his blood type.
Enhance.
Yes. Well, Enhance is more Blade Runner.
One of them does do it. One of the shows. I forget which one.
Mm-hmm. I always think of Blade Runner first.
That's fair. I like watching. I used to watch the spoof show that was on. It might have been Adult Swim. Okay. It's like a long acronym like NCIS, except they combine all the acronyms, and it had Rashida Jones as one of the detectives in it. I'm
unfamiliar with it.
I think. You can keep talking.
Yeah, so I think it was interesting rather than like checking the computer database. It's like, even though we didn't see it, which I'm glad we didn't, but it was like there was at least 2 big meetings of like, hey, we need to figure out like here's what we found out. Here's the case. Here's the phones. Here's this. This is where we are thinking he's from. And then just other things of just people constantly just looking through the same evidence over and over and over and over until they're like, oh, hold up. There's this thing that like we just haven't been listening to because we were so focused on other stuff. So I think I enjoyed the 60s procedural of it, of like of them, how they gathered the evidence and how they cast their net and how they were trying to find out like how's the best that we can get this person, because this rich man is going to lose all his money and we need to make sure he gets life for it.
I know, they wanted all the excuses. 5 years? No. 15? Never.
No.
We're going to hang him. I was like, okay, guys, calm down.
Yeah, it's like the opposite of Robin Hood.
Yeah. So I did confuse two shows together. So there's Angie Tribeca, which Special Division Force. That has Rashida Jones. That was a comedy show on TBS where it was supposed to be like LAPD and her doing ridiculous like calls and things like that. And then on Adult Swim, there was NTSFSD SUV, which stood for National Terrorism Strike Force San Diego Sport Utility Vehicle. And that one had, like, the really absurd humor of, like, what if the dolphin was an assassin? Like, that kind of, like...
What was the call again? I need to look this up.
I can send you the Wikipedia
Okay,
pages.
that'd be great. Because I'm like... I never really watched a lot of Adult Swim, so...
Yeah, this one's live action stuff, so...
Okay, so... It was in that era. So, I guess the last thing before we go to Spoiler Town, how likely would you recommend the movie to others?
If people, like, really enjoy things like NCIS and Criminal Minds and things like that, then, yeah, I would lean towards, sure, give it a shot, because I think High and Low is a good, like, foundation, but even... with everything that's been done, I think it still has some interesting components to it. Because, like you said, it's missing a lot of modern technology, so it's a lot more big braining and kind of following along in that. How about you? Would you recommend it to anybody?
I think so. Like, I feel like this one would be like more dependent on. Sorry, I was looking at pictures of the NTSFSD SUV, and I'm like, that's a thing. Yeah, I don't know. I think this one, yeah, it would just depend on who like if they like their cop shows, it's like, hey, here's an older cop show movie. So, I don't know. I feel like I wonder if I would have a different opinion if this wasn't after watching literal genre starter of movies, but like I don't know. I could also see this being redone, like remade by other people. I feel like this one could also, I'm gonna look it up now for later, but yeah, there's a lot. It's very straightforward cop movie, which I know some people like, and it's like there's not a lot of weird. there's no supernatural element. So, that's all I got.
Okay. You ready to start that timer?
Yes.
Do you want to make it a little shorter today since we ran the beginning a little long?
Yeah, because I don't think, oh, that's the wrong way. I don't think there's like a ton of, I'll set it for 20, and if we're still talking, I'll add a little bit more time.
Okay.
But, yeah, I don't think I feel like a lot of stuff is straightforward.
Yeah, there's not a lot to like unpack with this, but okay, just let the people know when Spoiler Town leaves the station.
Will do. I'm hitting the button in 3, 2, all aboard! Doot, doot. Spoiler Town away. Throw all your money out the windows.
I was gonna say, is this the only movie we've had so far with a train? for
Probably.
this set of movies.
Yeah, I'm surprised. If only we had Train to Busan.
Did we?
I don't know, but that's that's another question for later.
Yeah, we do have that director set up, don't we?
I think so. Spoilers for our own show. Oh, you highlighted it over there.
Yeah, I was double checking if he was the director. I'm like 99% sure he is.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, let's stop getting confused. Where are we? We are on a train, throwing all our money out.
All our money out. Yeah, I feel like this movie's done in 3 acts, or at least, yeah, I would say 3 acts. Like, and I feel like the first one is the plight of my money gone. Why, or like, why you take son? Oh, it's not my son? I don't care too much, but I kind of do. And then
my wife says I should care.
Yeah, well, everybody says you should care. And then let's go hunt him down, and then we found him, but we want to get him on the worst possible charge ever. So we're
gonna sacrifice some people along the way?
Yeah,
I guess one technically. Well, yeah, I guess they only sacrificed one because some of them were already dead by the time they realized what was going on.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, the one that did sacrifice was not like him going there was not part of they're like that was not what was supposed to happen.
It was not according to their plan.
Yeah.
But in hindsight, I was like, it makes sense why you would do that. Yeah, unfortunate. When right before that happened, I was like, oh, is the plot line going to be like, oh, this is someone important to him and he needs the money to get them off of the addiction? And then, no,
just some testing. But yeah, for me, I think what the act, like, there was parts that I liked about, I guess, Act 2 and 3. But I think what I really enjoyed about the movie was the first act and Gingo, whatever his name was, Gondo, him having like the moral dilemma between himself of like giving the money away. And it's like, I thought it was interesting where it's just like, because in my mind I'm like, he's gonna do it, and then he's like, and I decided I'm not gonna do it, and it's like, oh, okay, but that's not. And then like the cops were like, hey, we can't force you, like
it's your money,
it's like we're not like, it's like we can't make you do anything, but it's like, can you at least lie and tell them? And he's like,
keep him on the line. Yeah,
it's like I can do that. And then it was just like his wife was like, okay. And then even his wife was interested. Like, I thought that was an interesting back and forth where she's like no, it's okay, we'll make it through there. And he's like, you literally never been in poverty. Like, you had the silver spoon since you were born. You don't understand what you're saying. Go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, like, she was like, we can build it back up from nothing. He was like, you don't know what nothing is. Yeah. Like, you've never known what nothing is. Like, what? They kind of hinted, like, maybe there wasn't a dowry, but there was at least, like, he was accepted into her family because he was gonna be rich.
Yeah, and it's, I don't know. In my mind, I never had that much money to be like, am I going to have to give up and ruin? Well, ruin my life. And it's like, I feel like his arguments aren't without a ground to stand on, because he's like, I'm going to like potentially ruin our whole family's life because of
the driver's
son
who happens to be wearing my son's clothes.
Yeah, and it's like, and at first the chauffeur, he's like, I'll do anything, I'll pay you back, I'll do that, and like the Gonda's like, I literally pay you, like I'm the one that's paying you. Like, but I thought that was like interesting, like just him.
The morality of it
Yeah.
was a very fun exchange, and I also really liked a lot of the person framing, because a lot of the movie in the first act, I guess I would say first maybe even 2 full acts, is all like kind of like The Whale, where it's all in one room, like it's in one area. So I really appreciated how he did a lot of the framing and the on and off set work almost. Like there were some scenes where people were walking away and in the background someone was walking in to begin their part of like the next scene, and I was like, it's so smooth. My brain is itched.
Yeah, it's one thing I really like about Kurosawa's films, where it does feel almost like a theater production of how smooth everything goes, and it's like there's cuts, like you can tell where there's cuts.
Yeah, when they go to different locations.
Yes. Yeah. But it's like, it feels like, I love one shots. I love when it's just one long shot of a movie, like of a scene. There's a movie that I really like, which I know it's not all done in one take, but there's clever editing. But I believe it's called Birdman, where
the vigilante one, where he's like a superhero but not really a superhero.
Yes, and he's doing a production and stuff. I'm blanking on who is in it, but from what I read, it's also one of those movies.
Is it Keaton?
Yes. Yeah, he's the main actor. It's got the what's her face? She was Gwen Stacy in the
Emma Stone.
Yes, Emma Stone. She's in it, and there's a couple other big actors in there. I can see their faces. I'm just blanking on it, but like that movie was shot, like definitely Act 1, Act 2, Act 3. Kind of like a play, but also it was all done in one take. I don't remember how well the story was, because I watched it back like almost 15 years ago. Man, that feels hard to say. But yeah, or maybe even 10 years ago. Anyway, it was, but I do remember the camera shots of like how everything was connected, and in the camera, the movement and everything was all made it appear as it was in one shot. And at Kurosawa, I feel like there's a lot of stuff where it's like everything's done and it feels like one shot, which I do enjoy.
Yeah, I know you really liked Taika for his bits. He doesn't do full movies, but he has his big story arc all framed in that style. Yeah,
and it's interesting, like how in this movie, like you brought it up and it made me think of it, where it's kind of like a shockwave, where we have the epicenter at the house, and like the first act all happens in there, and then like slowly Kurosawa expands our understanding of the area and things, where it's like for us, 75-ish years after, like we're seeing like we don't, at least I don't know that area, and it's like, okay, we're in the house, and now it's like here's the town that's near the house, and then it's like here's the whole district that we're in, and it's like it slowly expands, where it's not like we're in the house and now we're throughout the whole town. I think the way it slowly expands was very nice.
Yeah, because like it does, even the way that the story is told, like it starts out like in the room, right, like the tiny room, and then they go, okay, we're gonna expand to like across the street, where we theorized hearing a coin, so he's using a payphone, and then like they go and do that, and then they like take another step out and they go, okay, we're in the police station, and then the police station's like, here's our big old map, and I was like, oh, that's a lot of places for them to go, and they're like, oh, by the way, the boy who drew this pretty cartoon. I was like, oh, where's that? Like, because my brain was like not complaining, but my brain was like, even in like fantasy books when they give me a map and go, we walked from this place to this place. I'm like, I don't know what that is. I don't know how long that is. I don't know where that is.
Yeah.
So my brain doesn't do well when they just kind of like name maps and general locations. But
when a book has a map on the in cover thing, it's like, oh man, I could just look at that for days.
I will only refer to it if it's like, if I can't tell what's like, in this movie I didn't have that problem, but in some movies and some books they'll be like, it took us 3 weeks to get there, and then the next scene they'll be like, it took us 2 days. I was like, I thought you guys said they were next to each other. How does it work? But no, this at least was located in kind of, I guess, a borough almost, right? Like,
yeah,
quote unquote, in their jurisdiction.
Yeah.
So they were driving in a lot of circles, but because it was circles, it got a little bit easier for me to go, oh, okay, so this is the top of the hill with the house. This is the top of a different hill near the train. And then down here is where the club is.
Yeah, I think something else I really liked about this is where I feel like... Actually, I think the only... I shouldn't say the only movie, but a movie that we recently watched that kind of does something similar was Inside Man. With Spike Lee, where I feel like sometimes you have like that cop that knows everything, and it feels like in this movie we didn't have that, like the cop that knew everything. It's like, hey, we're noticing something and we know who we can ask for information, and it's like that just takes time as the things are going through there. Just like how in Inside Man, I think one of the shots I know for some reason keeps circling around on social media when Denzel's just like, hey, does anyone know what language this is? And there's just a guy's like, oh yeah, it's what my wife says.
Yeah.
It's like, what's it say? I don't know. I recognize it. That's what it is.
She just yells at me all the time in that language.
Yeah. And
he's like, then bring your freaking wife in. And she's like, I'm not talking. And it's like, oh, yeah, like Inside Man, I felt like they wanted to make it feel like a cat and mouse game, except that both of them are the cat and nobody's the mouse. And I was like, there's no like evenness or not evenness. There's nothing interesting about that story for me because they're just always like butting heads. Whereas in High and Low, it is a cat and mouse chase because the criminal, we'll call him that, is like always like awkwardly just barely smarter than the police, and the police are like, wait, this guy's a frickin' genius. He knows the exact width for the suitcase for the window, and he knows to do it through a train station. He knows to wear hats, and he knows, like, they're like, he's covered so many bases. He's so smart. What could we possibly do? And it was fun for me to watch where they're like, dear reporters, don't talk about dead bodies. They're like, what do you mean? And they're like, we need them to think they're alive so we can trick them. And they're like,
oh, yeah.
You want us to bash the shoe company for being evil? And they're like, yeah.
It's like, I'm not saying no, but you do what you got to do. And they're like, this is awesome.
This is so fun.
Yeah.
Boycott shoes. Woo. But yeah, it was kind of like an interesting relationship to see, like, a fun reminder, too, that news sources, you always have to check their bias. Because that news source was getting fed directly by police, and the police were like, shh, secrets.
Yeah.
But it was really cool to also see that the reporters were also like, that doesn't make sense. How are you going to get nobody to talk about it? They're like, because these people are secretive, and there's no neighbors, and it's off-season, and it's a new development, so nobody really lives there. And the reporters are like, you're so smart.
You're smart. I like you.
So yeah, but like you said, I think the thing that makes this, like, even though it's like fun talking about cool scenes in this, it is definitely a movie that's like, you have to really appreciate the process to really like the movie. Still a good movie. Like, I think you messaged that to me, but I just want to make sure we mention Mr. I guess it's the opposite of a curmudgeon. Mr. How dare you have stuff.
Yeah.
That was such a disappointing motivation.
Yeah. It was like, I looked at you, and because I didn't have air conditioning, and you were on this house, which it is funny because it does, I think the cops as they're walking around, it's like, Yeah, I can understand. I hate looking at this house for this stupid thing because we're just constantly going and it's like, it looks like a castle. It's like, I want to go rob him too. But
Yeah, like, is it kind of flaunting his wealth? Sure. But it would have, I think Strider mentioned, it would have been more interesting if, like, at least there was, like, even if it was one flashback where it was, like, the mother that the guy lost was like, if you work as hard as Mr. Gondo, you'll be rich one day. Like, at least, like, make it, like, the connection. Like, give us just a little bit more about why he might resent this man.
Yeah, it feels like, and that was something I was thinking was where, like, I feel like if this movie was done today, the protagonist would have been the villain of this movie, because it's like, how many people are like we have like the 1% protests and that happened what was that, like 7 years ago or something like that. And it's just, especially with a lot of stuff on social media where it's like, definitely like there's it might just be my algorithm where I'm like, can you go away? Can you bring me back dumb videos where it's just like the class, almost like the building of a class war of just of people who have more, and like, and there's a lot of cheering from, I guess, people that are not as wealthy when they get one over on the CEOs and certain corporations and stuff that I've been noticing. And I'm like, I could see how this like the movie told from a different perspective where he could be the hero, but it's like, you didn't even know him. It's not like he was like, because like when they brought in like the cut on his arm, was he like, my first thought was like, oh, he worked in the shoe company. He had an accident. It was already said that Gondo had a
very particular standard to his shoes.
And he had a temper. And so it's like, did this guy like his hand got like caught on a loom, like in something, got hurt, and him just being like, just outburst of like, how dare you like do all this and get mad and everything. He took it personally, which could totally understand if that was the case. And I was like, no, it was hot. My mom died, and then I just hated you.
All I see from my window is your house. It's like, close the blinds.
Yeah.
I don't know. Not to be like pro rich, but also like, again, like you said, there's a lot of recent news about like a lot of reasons why the 1% has had too much influence on everybody else.
Yeah.
And like, I wish they didn't have the ability to have that influence. But Gondo, all he wanted to do was influence the shoe quality.
Yeah.
And like, he was getting kicked out of his job and forced out of his job because he was like, no, I'm not going to make shitty shoes for more money. And I was like, he's not the worst rich person. I don't agree with everything, because he also was going to let a kid die just so he could like own a company. But
yeah, we have like a minute and a half left before we have to leave Spoiler Town. But is there any like one scene that you really enjoyed? There's one that I'm thinking of, but
I have two. Okay. I really liked the exchange of money and drugs. I thought that was really frantic and really interesting in a really clever way that, like, if you don't want to get caught, you have to be somewhere that's, like, so busy, no one can even notice if you're doing anything. So, like, there's, like, half a shot where he has a fistful of money, but everyone's dancing in a way that the cops are, like, who are next to him are like, did it happen? He's leaving. Yeah. I thought that was really cool. And I also I thought it has really great, like, those kind of moments in the movie had really great tension, because you're like, are they going to lose him? Are they going to catch him? Are they going to get the evidence they need? And also, I was sitting there laughing out loud going, just stop following him so closely. Like the very first scene where he lays down on the bench and he's like, look at me, like one of the French girls. And then the other guy's like breathing down his neck and like following him. I was like, pump the brakes, bud. You need to like not get caught. That was your only job.
No.
The second set of scenes that I really liked is the reflective glass when Gondo and the guy are talking after he comes out of his solitary confinement. And you have like the both actors have to act the whole time because of the way that they shot their reflections. You can fully see their faces and their facial reactions during the conversation. And I felt like that added a lot of depth to it, even though I didn't agree with the kind of hollow message.
Yeah.
How about you?
So it's definitely more of a vibe that they show when I think they call it when he goes to put the drug, like test the drugs on the thing. I forget what they call it.
The flop house? The druggy alley?
Yeah, they have a name for the alley, and
I thought it was just Junkie Alley or something like that.
Yeah, I'm just trying to see if it has it in there. Yeah, I thought one thing I thought was really cool, or not cool, but just interesting the way it was shot was like, we go from like the party society, as you were saying, like, yeah, we're like the exchange, we have like the American military base somewhere close by where there's a lot of foreigners mixing with the Japanese, like together, and they're all partying, having a good time. They're all out there getting flowers and like just the highlight, like just the lights and brightness. And then all of a sudden it's like he goes down to where like the drug alley, and it's just the camera is like starts from the back and moves out, and it's like it's haunting almost. Like it was just such like a flip to where like, who are you? We're not letting you in here. Like, you're cops. Like, what? Like,
they could just. They looked at their outfits and went, nope,
yeah.
nope.
Somehow they still get through, but it's
Well, they go. They have They have that other group that was all made up in the car because remember they were like, go buy flowers, and they look in the car and go, none of us can go buy flowers.
Yes. But it's like I think that like just that whole scene was just, it was like haunting, and just like just the abrupt, like it felt like the people were dead, and just showing that scene of like where everything so far was like full of life, and no matter where they were in life and everything, but it was that just seeing all that. And then I think the other it was just more, I guess, like an interaction. It was this I forget his name, but it was the bald detective when he has to go talk to
the one they call him Boston.
Yeah, and they'd make him go to National Shoes, and they're all bad mouthing Gondo, and he's like, and then it cuts back to him in the meeting. He's like, I just wanted to beat them all right now, and he's just like, I'm sorry, I forgot where I was. This, and they're just like, nah, we all want to as well. It was just like that whole like kind of. He's like, I hated him at first, but then I saw what he gave up, and I want to do what I can for him. But I think that scene, it's just so short.
They're like, I was surprised at having random moments of laughing, but it was mainly around that particular detective.
Yes.
Like, there's another time where he goes, go up the hill and don't look like a cop. He's like, oh, I'm not the one that should be worried. Yes. You need plastic surgery.
He's like, shut up.
He just looks out the car. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So yeah, there was a lot of neat things there. But yeah, so we're on our way out of Spoiler Town, but let's see. Was there any fun trivia? And then I did see something that is very interesting that I'll save to close it on. Oh, okay. So the train sequence was shot live on the Kodama Super Express, and most of the extras are actually passengers.
That is fun.
Oh, okay. This is the first one. After the film's release, the kidnappings were on the rise in Japan. Kurosawa himself received threats of kidnapping of his own daughter. She quoted him as once saying to her, "With high and low, I wanted to inspire tougher sentences on kidnappers, Instead, I was criticized for the increase, for their increase of that. Okay, so Yutaka Sada, who was Aoki, the chauffeur, did not have a driver's license when he was cast for the role, but he obtained one before shooting began, and he had some difficulty driving during the shooting.
No.
And you said this, I can't remember if this was before we started recording, but the amount of the ransom for in 2018 dollars is approximately $2.8 million. I think
The math I did was like $1 million, but also keep in mind the U.S. dollar is kind of
it's doing its own highs and lows.
Oh, the Japanese title of the movie makes a lot of sense, Heaven and Hell.
Yeah.
Because of with the outgoing speech where he's like being very spiritual about like, I don't care where I end up unless I end up, you know what?
Oh, okay. So this, talking about what you were just talking about, the last section of the movie originally had a great deal of dialogue, but Kurosawa decided to omit all of it.
No.
So there's more.
Oh, this makes sense. Tarantino got the idea of the swing dance scene in Pulp Fiction from this movie.
I never watched Pulp Fiction. So
I've watched bits and pieces.
Okay, so here we go. This for 2024, the check of 50 million yen that Kondo writes so he can control the company would equate it to, at the time, $138,300, which now equates to 1.42 million in 2024. So, the dollar was better in 2018. So,
that was pre-pandemic, so.
yeah. Oh, this was something else. This was the only one that also has an extra hue, and it says that there's one shot in the movie where the scene of colored smoke is rising from the incinerator. Some television prints blotched this and have the scene in black and white instead of Some television prints blotched this scene in black and white instead of having the color, diluting its impact. Which I was like, hey,
I thought that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I was like
Technicolor?
I don't know how they did it, but it was pretty cool. So anyway, that was the last thing, but here's something else that I just saw. So, this movie is High and Low, or Heaven and Hell, is currently being remade.
Huh? By who? Oh, is this Spike Lee? Yes,
Highest
that's why I put it on
lowest.
the list. That's why I put this on this list.
And it's apparently coming out, I don't know if it still is, but it's set to release in August of this year.
See, look, fun reminder, everybody. We put together our list of movies we're going to watch like months before we do it. So we watched Spike Lee in February, and I was like, oh, that's an interesting fun fact about Spike Lee. We should watch the original just in case.
Yep, so highest to lowest, and then it'll be on Apple TV in September.
But boop. Sorry, did I say that too fast?
It's okay, I wasn't going to do that. So, but hey, it's got Denzel, and I like a little Spike Lee Denzel team up.
You get the scene.
Yeah.
The floating gun scene.
The floating gun. Oh, yes. So, I don't know.
When they're locked in.
Let's see. Is this still, I don't know when this was last updated. Let's see. It'd probably be easier just to look for this outside of Wikipedia. Looks like it's still coming out.
As of May 2025, it says that
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
It says during a talk at a film festival in 2024, Lee said that while attending New York University Film School, he first got to see Kurosawa films, and and he used some perspectives in Rashomon in She's Gotta Have It, which we didn't watch.
Yeah, there's some other movies of his that I hear a lot of people talk about that I'm like, oh man, it would be. I wouldn't mind doing another Spike Lee joint month.
A24 is releasing Highest to Lowest on August 22nd in select U.S. movie theaters.
So if there's a select movie theater near both of us, maybe we can have another PD shorty or whatever we called it. I got to stop watching the trailer because I'm like, okay, I can see there's a lot of scenes from the trailer that are from High and Low, it feels like. But anyway, yeah, so just pay attention around there if we're able to go see it. And that brings us to the end of Kurosawa, which I thoroughly enjoyed Kurosawa. Not to say that I didn't enjoy other movies, other directors, but I'm like, this was a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to see Wes Anderson, where we are watching The Royal Tenenbaums. I don't know where to watch that, but I got a couple days to find out. So we'll be watching The Royal Tenenbaums, and yeah, that should be fun. And yeah, we will talk to you all next time. Thank you for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed Akira Kurosawa. If there was a film that we missed in our month, let us know in the comments. And maybe in a future Jump Jansky, we'll see if we can put it in there. But until next time, we'll talk to y'all later. We'll see you next week.